Hello dear students, this is Neha Sharma. Today in this video we are going to discuss chapter number 1, the last lesson, which is written by Alphonse Daudet. As I have given you introduction of this chapter in the last video, and I've told you about Alphonse Daudet that he was a French novelist and a short story writer. He was born in France in 1840 and died in 1897, right? So this brief introduction of the story too I have given you along with the author. So today we have to start this prose section, which is in Flamingo textbook for class 12th. So let's start the last lesson. The name of the first chapter itself is the last lesson. So let's know why this is the last lesson. Please open your book on the first page of the last lesson. I think this is page number, I am not getting the page number here. So please see what it is. So the last lesson, right, of Flamingo book. Here in this part you can see you can see about the author. I have given already the introduction of Alphonse Daudet to you, that he was born in France in 1840, died in 1897, was a French novelist and a short story writer. The last lesson is set in the days of Franco-Persian War. This too I have told you. These are the important points which I am telling you. That first one, author is Alphonse Daudet, and the story last lesson is set in the days of Franco-Persian War in 1870 to 1871, and this army of France was defeated by Persia. Right, the army of France was defeated by Persia, led by Bismarck. Clear? Next thing is, Persia then consisted of what now the nations of Germany, Poland and part of Austria. In this story, the French district of Alsace and Lorraine. So this Alsace and Lorraine are the district, are the part the part of Germany which we will study here, which we will which are the districts of France we will learn here, were annexed by the Persian army, and what were the rules told over there, the people living there, what they have to follow, this we will study, and what change those orders brought into the life of the people. Let's talk about that. So the important points are, Alphonse Daudet is the author. Who was a French novelist and a short story writer. The last lesson is set in the days of Franco-Persian War, and this is the story of the France, and one of the districts of France was Alsace and Lorraine. We are going to study where the orders from the Persian army came that the mother tongue means French would not be taught any longer there, and that will be taken place by German, right? So what is the story ahead? Let's see. You can see the expressions in the text here which infer the meaning from the context. So as I am going to tell you the explanation here of the chapter, so please keep a pencil in your hand so that you can write down the meanings which are difficult for you. So I am going to start from the first paragraph. I started for the school very late that morning and was in a great dread of scolding. Right, the first expression itself we have got here, and when we talk about I here, this I is the boy who is Franz. What is the name? Franz, right, who is a school going boy in the district of Alsace and Lorraine. So he is the narrator of the story, so that's why he is saying here I, right. I started for school very late that morning and was in a great dread of scolding. especially because M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles. This participle is a topic of grammar which you study in English too, right? So participle is that topic. And I did not know the first word about them. Means he is talking about participles here. For a moment I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field back of the sawmill, the Persian soldiers were drilling. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles, but I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. So this is what the first paragraph of the story. So let's discuss that what the narrator, who is a young boy, who is a young school boy, whose name is Franz, he is saying here. So this paragraph is told, in fact the whole story was told by him, and he said that morning he was scared as he was late for school. Also, as the teacher M. Hamel, right? What was the name of the teacher? Here we are talking about French language teacher. The name of the teacher is M. Hamel. So M. Hamel has announced the previous day that he would test them on the topic participles, and French did not know anything at all about the, you can say, the P of participle. He was more scared of being scolded. That's why he did not want to go to school, right? So he is saying ahead that for a moment he thought of running away and all that. So what he did next, see, French had another option in his mind. For a moment I thought, right? Here I am reading. For a moment I thought of running and spending the day outdoors. So what he said, that he had another option in his mind to miss the school and enjoy the day out in the warm and the bright weather. And he describes the scene. There were birds chirping on the trees and the noise of the Persian soldiers doing the drill, right? The drilling is what? Drilling is what? The exercise done by the this army, you know, here it is drill. So it was much more tempting than the rule for participles, right? So he said that when he heard the chirping of the birds on the trees and the noise of the Persian soldiers doing the drill behind the sawmill. Sawmill is, you know, a factory of cutting wood. So because he had to cross the woods is what? Woods is not, you know, it is not only that, it is what? Jungle, you can say. It is the forest, right? It is not the wood only, it is jungle. So edge of the woods here means jungle, right? So there was automatically a sawmill was there, and sawmill is what? Sawmill is a cutting, a factory for cutting the woods. Generally it is there in the forest. So he was actually, you know, enjoying that scene, and he was not at all willing to go to school that day. But he said that it was more tempting, so much for tempting the rules of the participles. So the scene outside was more attractive than the school. But French, he controlled the temptation. Temptation means what? Tempting means what? Attracting. Actually temptation is what? Attraction. So here it is the word tempting, right? What is it? Tempting. That means what? It is attracting. And resist is a word given here, and that resist means to stay away here, right? So he said the scene outside was more attractive than the school, but French controlled the temptation and chose to attend the school. Finally, he had to go to school. Next passage is, when I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the drafts, the orders of the commanding officers, and I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? right? Now what he's saying in this paragraph, that when he was walking to the school, to the town hall, he noticed a huge crowd at the notice board. This bulletin board is what here, this bulletin board is what, the notice board. And that was the place, right? The war with the Persia had begun 2.5 years ago, and since then all the bad news, like losing of wars, occupation of Alaskan Lorraine by the enemy, or whatever the bad or the good news, in fact it was a bad because it was annexed by someone else. So the bad news, he said, one could see on this bulletin board only, right? And French kept on walking towards the school without stopping. I thought to myself, without stopping, what can be the matter now? He didn't stop on the way, and he talked to himself. He communicated to to himself. He talked to himself that what could be the matter now, right? So when we will go to the next page, let's see. Then, as I hurried by as fast as I could go, the blacksmith watcher, who was there with his apprentice reading the bulletin, right, called after me, "Don't go so fast, Bob. You will get to your school in the plenty of time." Right. So he said that when I was going, as I walked hurriedly towards the school, right, as he could not resist to stop somehow in the woods. So as he was walking hurriedly towards the school, and then the blacksmith, whose name was Watcher, right, he was also reading that news from the bulletin board, had come along with his apprentice. Apprentice means what? Apprentice is a trainee. Okay, what you can write down, it's a trainee, and called out to French from behind and said that he didn't go in such a hurry, as there was plenty of time for him to reach to school. Actually, he commented him that why he is going too late to school, right? So that's why he said there is no hurry to go to school. Next, I thought he was making fun of me, and I reached M. Hamel's little garden all out of breath. So he actually didn't listen. He was not eager to know that what is going on there, and there was a plenty of time to reach of school. He just commented him and all that. So he understood that he is making fun of him. He is commenting him, actually. So he reached somehow to M. Hamel's little garden. And what is that M. Hamel's little garden? That was actually the school, where M. Hamel had a little garden outside the classes, right? So when French reached the garden outside the school, and he noticed something there, right? All out of the breath, means he was actually he went hurriedly, so that's why he was all out of his breath. Now next paragraph. Usually when school began, there was a great bustle. And which could be heard out in the street. The opening and the closing desks, lessons repeated in unison, very loud, with our hand over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. But now it was all so still. I had counted on the commotion to get my desk without being seen. But of course, that day, everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places, and M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody, you can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. So what French told here in this paragraph, that when usually when he reached to school in the garden itself, when we was he was standing there, and he was out of his breath as he walked very fast. So when he reached there, what did he notice there? He describes the unusual scenes at the school in the morning. Generally, what was there, he got usually, actually see, it is usually what was there, what was the routine work of the school. So that he is describing here, that a lot of noise created by moving desks, right? It is what one could be heard out in the street. There was a great bustle. There was a great bustle means what? A lot of noise created by many people, that is called bustle, which could be heard out in the streets, the opening and the closing of the desks. So he is saying here that a lot of noise created by children and the moving desk was one could listen carefully, actually, usually, and children repeating their lessons, and the teaching and the teachers striking on the table. Striking means rapping the ruler on the table, and the tables with the rulers could be heard. That sound could be heard usually, right? So this was the usual scene. Please try and understand, and this is very important question, and you will be asked that what was the usual scene of the school and what was the unusual scene of the school that day, on the day of the last lesson, right? So the usual scene was this, which we have heard, that school in the morning was a lot of noise created by moving desks, children repeated their lessons, and teachers striking the tables with the rulers could be heard. This was usual scene. But now it was all so still. It was all so still. So that day he is telling. Now this is starting of the unusual scene, that what is the unusual. But now it was all so still. I had counted. So he is telling here that there was no such sound coming out of the school, and it seemed that the school was closed as it used to be on Sunday morning. Means that's why there was silence. And French had planned that he would take cover under the commotion and reach the class without being noticed, but that did not seem possible to him, right? As usually he used to do, because there are a lot of hustle bustle, commotion, right, chaosity in the classroom, and he silently went in the class and sat there. But he wanted that day also the same thing, but he could not do. Clear? Now, because why he is saying, through the window I saw my classmate already in their places. So he said that when he peeped inside the class and saw his classmates, they were seated, and M. Hamel, their teacher, he was walking in the class with the ruler made of iron placed under his arm, and French feared a beating that time. So he said, I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and got frightened I was. So this blushed means what? Blushed means what? Blushed is when your face turned red, in red color due to shame or some excitement. So that is called blushing. So he said that nothing happened. Okay. So French was ashamed of being late to school, and feared that when he would enter the classroom in front of everyone, teacher Mr. M. Hamel what he would do? He would actually scold him. So he was frightened of that. But what he said? Nothing. What was the reaction of the teacher? Let's see. But nothing happened. M. Hamel saw me and said very kindly, go to your place quickly, little French. We are beginning without you. So to his utmost, you can say he was confused that he found it strange that why Hamel, he did not say anything, and on the contrary, very politely he asked me to get to my seat as the class was about to begin without him. He said that we are going to start without you. Now he was very surprised. I jumped over the bench and sat down on my desk. Not sorry. Till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled, come on the next page, shirt, and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. Now here, in this paragraph, you will see that French is saying that when he entered in the classroom, he was very much surprised to see the behavior of M. Hamel first, right? Unusual behavior of Mr. M. Hamel. So he said, I jumped over the class. So he said he hurriedly, when the teacher said to go me, so I just hurriedly sat in my seat. And after some time, when he overcame to the scare, actually he was afraid that he would be scolded by teacher. So when he overcame the scare and became comfortable after some time, he noticed that their teacher had worn his best embroidered clothes that day. Now again he was surprised with it. What is the reason? Now here will be one question, that what are the things that he noticed unusual in the class. So this is the first thing actually which he noticed when he overcame his fear, right? So he noticed that the teacher, he had worn his best clothes that day, and how he described his dress, let's see, his beautiful green coat and his frilled shirt and the little black silk cap. So he said that the teacher normally wore that dress, that embroidered dress on the occasions like inspections and the prize distribution days. Beside, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn, but the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. Old Hauser with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several other beside everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer thumbed at the edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the page. So the second unusual thing he noticed after the dress he described to us of his teacher, he noticed that he before that he could get the reason that why he is wearing such unusual dress, the special dress. So after that he felt that the atmosphere in the school was unusual and serious, and on the last benches, when he said on the room, they were occupied by the senior village men, where Hauser was there, who was wearing his three-cornered hat, and a retired mayor was also there, and the postmaster, etc. All these senior people, and they were sitting in the last benches of the classroom, right? And he told that everybody looked sad. He told that the people who are sitting there in the classroom, everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought old primer. Hauser had brought his reader, the small book where you that primer is a book which is a basic book where the student, when they start the nursery classes or the PG classes, they get to know the identification of the alphabet over there. So that type of book is called primer, right? The basic reader of any language, you can see that. So that he was carrying with him, and he had opened it and kept on his knees, and had placed his spectacles on it, right, on that particular primer. Now, while I was wondering about it, M. Hamel mounted his chair, and in the same grave and the gentle tone which he had used to me, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Velasquez and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." So this is told by the teacher, right? So when this boy French was confused actually, that why these things are happening. He could not figure out what was happening that day, right? Because the three things he had noticed, that there was the silence in the school. Second, the teacher was wearing a special dress, and the third thing, the senior people of the village were occupying the last benches of the class. These are the three unusual things he noticed in the school, right? So when he was confused and could not figure out that what was happening actually that day, just then M. Hamel told them that it was the last lesson, right? Mounted up the chair. Mounted up the chair means he got up and he told that this is going to be their last lesson. As he told the reason also, as the Persian in the Berlin had ordered that the French language would no longer be taught in the school of Velasquez and Lorraine, and the German language be taught instead. Means their mother tongue, which was French, would not be taught in the schools of Velasquez and Lorraine, and the language which was of Persians, that was what? That was German, that language be taught instead of French. And the German teacher would arrive the next day, and as this was the last lesson in the French, and the teacher requested them that he wanted all of them to pay the attention, to be very attentive. What a thunderclap these words were to me. Thunderclap is what? Actually, this is what thunderclap, here you can see what a thunderclap those words were to me. So this is what thunderclap is used in comparison to refer to something unexpected to you, right? So that is called thunderclap. And the wretches, that was what they had put up at the town hall. So this word wretches is used for the unfortunate happening, and he came to know that okay, that was the order which all that mob was collected, was there in near that bulletin board. That was the order which was there. So now he came to know, he recalled the incident that when he was coming to school, and there was a crowd he noticed near bulletin board. So that was the reason that there was a lot of people staying there. So he was shocked to know that he could not learn French any longer, and how upset he was. He knew that he came to know actually, he recalled that incident, that how all those people were there and they were reading that news, right? So he came to know that the latest news which had been put up there on the bulletin board was that what the teacher is saying, right? My last French lesson. Why? I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn any more. I must stop there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs, or going sliding on the Sar. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints, were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And M. Hamel too, the idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. Right? Now here, dear students, in this paragraph, this Sar, S-A-A-R, the Sar is a river which passes through France, right? So this he is telling here. So what he is saying in this paragraph, that he regretted, because he came to know now that this is the last day of his mother tongue, right? So he regretted for not being serious towards studies and for wasting his time in hunting birds and playing in the Sar river, right? So that's why he was feeling so sorry for himself. And he too realized that till now he considered his books to be an unwanted burden, but suddenly he starts considering them to be his best friends, whom he could never leave. The writer wants to show the change in friend's attitude here. That's why he is using so many terms. Okay, so that's why he was feeling too upset actually, right? He was feeling that the books which were burden for him, suddenly those became his best friends, and his attitudes towards the study, and after hearing the news actually that he could not learn French any longer, that has been changed. So dear students, it happens actually when we have something, we do not bother about them, that thing particular, right? This is happening with the French here, and we also in our life, me as a teacher, I too thought sometime that we will do it tomorrow or day after that or this and that. That's a human nature or tendency. Clear? So that is the same nature of this boy French here. But today when he came to know that this is the last lesson and he would not meet M. Hamel, his French teacher, right? And he had to study German language, right? So that time he realized that he has lost many things. So I think this is enough for today till here. So please read it once again. The chapter is quite interesting, and this here we will come to know next that what are the things he will realize here, that what bad or good he did actually. So dear students, whatever the questions I have discussed with you, that you have to write down actually. Okay, and this is actually what we will come to know, the procrastinate nature of this boy French, and I think this is the nature of all the human beings, right? So please study till here, and in our next video we will do the rest part of the chapter. Thank you very much. Procrastinate.
Here's the definition of procrastinate. Delay or postpone.